Lifers, thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of the 1010 podcast, where we talk about life and the abundant life that we can have through a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. It's been a few episodes since I've been on because my daughters have been filling in for me, and I hope that you've been enjoying this little series that we have been doing on dating and engagement and marriage. And today we're going to be talking about marriage. And so I'm excited to join Olivia and Jaslyn on the 1010 podcast today. Let's get started. Yay. Hello, daughters of mine.
Hello, mother of mine.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you for the awesome job that you both have done over the last 3 episodes of this podcast. Just
You're welcome.
Anytime.
It's just been fun to hear your perspectives. And I know that obviously you guys reach a different demographic of people, like different age group, maybe younger girls and guys who are kind of in that dating and engagement season of life. And why are you laughing?
I just noticed you're wearing my shirt.
Okay.
I also am wearing your shirt.
Yeah, what's up with that?
I don't know. I have a
Anyways.
feeling today's going to be a giggly podcast.
Oh my gosh.
We
Yes.
started.
We do
got
share a
one
lot of clothes, which is like a blessing and a curse. I'll let
It's
you
a
guys
blessing
decide.
for those that get to wear the clothes, but a curse for the one
That's-
whose clothes are stolen.
Yeah, but that's rich.
Okay. Well, this is actually a really important week for me in my life, because it was this month of May in 2002 and also 1999 that I gave birth. Yes.
I don't know where you're going with this. Today is my birthday, is what she's trying to say.
Yes, I gave birth to Jaslyn in 1999
Yes.
on May 23rd. And I gave birth to Olivia in 2002 on May 22nd.
Wow.
Yes.
So they are 1 day and 3 years apart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Crazy.
apparently y'all know what we were doing 9 months before that.
Okay. Which, this might be TMI, but it was their anniversary.
Yeah,
9 months
August.
before this.
We've already talked about this.
Yeah.
That is so funny. I have never really done the math.
Really?
That's not true. We have before, because we actually figured out
done the
where we figured out where you were conceived.
Ew, I don't like talking.
But we won't talk about it here. I'll tell you later. So fun. So fun. That's the blessing of family. So yes, it's Olivia's birthday today. Obviously, it won't be when this podcast airs.
But you can still wish me a late happy birthday.
May
When you watch
22nd
this.
and May 23rd. Birthday girls. Yes. And so over the last couple episodes, you guys have talked all about dating,
Singleness.
singleness,
Single and satisfied.
which I think is really great. I really enjoyed listening to that. And I think that just applies to so many people. And I think that when you're in that place of not having, a relationship, it can be tough. So I think that was great that you guys talked about that. And obviously you're both engaged, you're married, and you're almost married in like
9
just
days.
a few days. It's crazy. It's coming up so quick. And I am married. I have been married for 27,
6 years.
Since
20
1997.
since 1996.
So you do the math. I'm just kidding.
I think this August is our 27th anniversary. No, it's our 28th.
What? Well, wait, how old is Talia?
She's 27.
26.
She's 27.
27. Wow.
Oh, congratulations.
She's old.
Yeah, I think. Doesn't even matter
So
anymore.
they're celebrating an anniversary this year.
I feel like when we got to our 25th, it was like after that we're like, what are we at now?
You can just say we're celebrating a lot of years of marriage.
Yeah, it's just like every decade. Like I'll like want to make sure I know when our 30th is. Celebrate
That's
that.
kind of how it is with birthdays
I
too.
know.
Like you're just, I'm celebrating a birthday.
I know.
I don't know which one, but
Yeah, I'm 46 and I'll be turning 47 in September.
the older you get, the more you have to stay on top of that. It's easy to forget.
It is. My favorite story is when, was it Grandma Becky?
Yeah.
Who, or my mother-in-law, who realized, I can't remember what birthday it was.
I want to
feel
say
like
it was
she was always-
65.
I don't know.
She just realized that she had always made herself a year older than she really was.
Yeah.
It took her a whole year to realize it.
It happens
But
though.
it's true. It does happen. I'm turning 22 today, and I thought I already was 22. And that's pretty young to...
I've already been telling people I'm 25 for like
Yeah.
3 months.
Yeah. But it's technically you're in that year.
Yeah.
Like I'm in my
True.
47th year.
Which that also goes back to like when you're born. Are you already 1 year old?
Right.
No, because you're 9 months old.
Wait, so
Hopefully you're not a year old. So, anyways,
you do the
Mom and
math.
Dad are having an anniversary soon.
Actually, not even soon. Not till August.
Why are we talking about this?
I was saying how many years have we been married? Because I'm married.
I'm like, where are we right now?
Okay. Backing up, I thought I feel like you guys didn't talk about how you know when you're dating somebody, if it's the one, you know, like you've been dating them for a long time or maybe not a long time, but you just are ready to be married. And then how do you, like a lot of people really struggle with that question of like, okay, I really like them and they're really great, but what if I make the wrong choice? Like what if, you know, I think a lot of people don't cross over that line of like dating into marriage because of fear, right? That because you hear just so many terrible stories of nobody wants to get divorced and nobody wants to marry a loser. And so it's scary.
Yeah.
But there's, you know, as believers, I think there's a lot of comfort in that too, because, you know, you can seek the Lord, you can take that step of faith and trust that the Lord is going to help you. And that's true of anything you do. But so I didn't know if you guys had thoughts about how you knew it was the one that you were dating when you were dating.
the one we were dating.
I can start.
Okay.
Okay. Unless you were ready.
Oh, no.
Okay. So I feel like
No.
for us, there were things about Jay about your dad that I just really admired. Like he, one of the things that I just really noticed about him is that no matter who he was talking to, he always treated everyone the same, like just with respect and kindness, and like gave everybody the same like time of day, if you will. And I just thought that was like really admirable, and he was friendly to everybody and always a lot of fun. Like he always made me laugh, and I just felt like full of joy and happy when I was with him. And I was just like madly in love with him, and I couldn't imagine being with anybody else or him being with anybody else. I would get really jealous.
Yeah, I remember you told me that. Like it would just make me want to throw up
Oh my gosh.
if I thought of your dad with anyone else. I remember you telling me that. Like that's how you knew.
Yeah. Yeah.
But not the main
I mean, like
reason.
if you would be okay with your boyfriend, like being with somebody else, like I don't think you should be with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I would probably just want to murder people. It's true. So we're
Unfiltered.
never going to get divorced, but someone may die. Anyway, that's how I knew.
Wow.
It was just like, I just knew.
Yeah.
And I think based on like other relationships that I had had where there was kind of always this like worry or warning even. But there was just never that. I never had any warning or worry
Yeah,
when I was with Jay. And so I think that was kind of a green light for me.
that's really good. I can resonate with a lot of that. And there are things that I recognize, and that's like, oh, I know because Riley is this way. But then also is helpful to, because I had dated in the past, like that comparison of I always felt worried in other relationships that I had been in. And I always felt like I just wanted out in a way. Like I was happy. And then at the end of the day, I knew like, oh, but there's just this one thing, or I was worried about how it was going to work out. And the contrast of when I met Riley, and like immediately when I first met him before we were dating, I had this feeling of like, I just wanted to be around him. Like he felt like really safe, and I felt like I just knew him. Like there was this instant like comfort with him before I hardly knew anything about him. Like we had met once before. And then the second time I met him, I told that story a little bit at his church. I like went into it knowing like I was interested in him, but I just was like, I want to be near him. I just want to like be around him. And I think at first he was way more like for sure about the fact that he like knew he wanted to be in a relationship with me more so than I was, where I did want to be in a relationship with him, but I think I just needed more time to like come to realize that. Yeah. And that was a scary thing at the beginning, because I remember the first month of dating, he was so in love with me. Like, I just remember like it being so obvious to me. And that was it was so exciting, because I was like, wow, he really likes me. And I feel like I'd never experienced that really, where like I was with someone that I knew without a doubt like wanted me. And like I didn't have to prove myself at all to him, because he just like, he had known me and like knew who I was and was like, yeah, I want to date her. And I was more on the other side of, I hadn't known of him for that long. Like he had, I guess, had been like crushing on me for a little bit longer. And so I came into it with a little less. And I just remember all that to say, like that first month was really fun. But then when I hit the point of like, I felt bad at first, because I was like, I feel like I can't match what he felt for me at the beginning. And it was kind of just driving me crazy, because I was like, this feels not fair. Like, I don't know. But I had this like moment with the Lord where I just felt like God kept telling me like, trust me, just trust me, like over and over again. And I was like, I don't know, like none of this is like worrying me or stressing me out. And almost the lack of drama and the lack of like unsureness, like scared me. And it took me like the first couple months maybe to realize like, no, this is what a healthy relationship actually looks like. Because I don't think I had really experienced that, where it was just like good. And I think what made me just want to stay with Riley too is that those first 3 months where I was in the deciding period of like, is he the one that I want to pursue a deeper relationship, before we even got to like marriage, just like, is he someone I want to be with? He was never putting pressure on me, and like we were able to communicate our feelings clearly, and he would never like freak out and be like, well, that's not fair, like you need to feel this way. He was always like, here's how I feel, no pressure, but like just know, like here's how I feel about you. And that just like melted me and just made me fall in love with him. Like, yeah, because all the things that I had wanted was in him, but it was sometimes it's just scary to be like, okay, this is it,
Right?
Because you have to, when you're saying yes to one person, you're saying no to
It's true.
hundreds of thousands of other options.
Right.
And that scared me at first. But yeah, potentially. I mean, I don't know if that many people are asking you out, but
Well, I think that's where a lot of people get stuck
yeah.
in that place of like, well, what if this isn't the right one for me? Or what if there's something better for me? And it's not even like necessarily a prideful thing. Like, what if I could do better? It's not that, but it's like, well, what if this really isn't? Like, what do I know? You know, I'm just me. But I think just that trust in the Lord makes such a big difference, right? That help from the Lord. And
Right. Yeah. Because I think it's not just a worldly relationship. When your marriage is something that, like you guys have always said, with my parents, that it's God brought you together. And I really felt that like deeply, like, yeah, God did bring us together. And obviously I found him attractive. His personality was like, I just was magnified towards him. Like I just wanted to be around him. And magnetized. I was magnetized.
She was like zoomed into him.
What kind of zoo? Magnetized. And just over time, not trying to put pressure on myself and just seeing where it goes. I kept feeling God say, just trust me, trust me. Where in the past, I felt God say, like, run from other relationships. Like, go, this isn't it. Yeah. And you know what that feels like.
Yeah.
You do know what that feels like. And I know what that felt like. And so it was just a difference. Like, no, this is good. And I don't know. I feel like everyone's story is different and how you know is always different. But I think at some point I just realized like Riley proved to me, not that he had to prove anything to me, but he just showed me that he could love me like no one else could love me.
Yeah.
And then really underneath that was that we both felt that God had brought us together.
Yeah.
So those two things were like.
I think
glue.
even if there's people like listening or watching to this podcast who are in a relationship, and even if you're not necessarily following the Lord, but you believe in him and you know he's real, and you're in a relationship, that you would just ask him, God, what do you think about this relationship?
That's scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think
Yeah.
when you ask the Lord, like every day is such a great opportunity to walk with the Lord. And I think I wrote out for myself, at first I called it my morning mantra, but Jay doesn't like the word mantra, which is true because I guess it has some bad juju. So now I call it just my morning blessing to myself. But it's like, you know how you have all these things that you know are true, but you just forget them, like that God loves you and that you're not walking alone. Like one of the, it kind of just starts out, good morning. Today is going to be a great day. It's a great day to trust the Lord in every situation and in every circumstance and to lean on him. And to me, that just reminds me right away that God, you're with me today. You have I don't have to try to figure out this day by myself. And sometimes even just one day can be pretty overwhelming of like, if you have certain tasks that you have to do, or it just feels like I can't, God's like, you can lean on me. And I love that. And I think that everybody has that opportunity in the big things of their life, like relationships, or the little things like, what am I going to cook for dinner? Or what am I going to wear? That we can lean on the Lord and walk with him. So what about you, O? How did you know?
I feel like I don't know how I knew. I don't feel like I ever had like an epiphany where I just woke up one day and I was like, I feel like it was just kind of I've shared earlier in the podcast that we didn't date that long, but it wasn't that long into dating before we just like, yeah, we're going to get married. It was just kind of a mutual decision that we were like, yeah. And I think a lot of it, obviously there were feelings attached to that like led to that moment.
That's
and
good.
Like, yeah, obviously. But I think a lot of it was just that I felt peace being with him. And like, I never, kind of like what you were saying, like I just felt drawn to him and like I wanted to spend time with him. And we were just talking about it the other day, how like, we were like, we spent so much time together in our early dating. And like, I feel like I'm saying like so much. I listened to the earlier podcast and I heard myself saying like so much and I was like, it was driving me crazy. So I'm going to try not to say it.
Okay, good.
Anyways, so like, we were talking about how we spent so much time together and we're remembering specific dates. I'm not a night person. I don't like to stay up super late. Sometimes I do like on accident, but but we would stay out until really late. It'd be like 11:30 or midnight. And like, that's really late to like be out doing stuff. We're like, what did we even do?
Yeah, because we had to put we had that curfew for you guys for Saturday nights.
Yeah, because
we all had to get up early Sunday morning. So like, you have to be home by this time.
And we were talking about it because now we go to bed so early. we're so lame. We like last night we went out to dinner at like 5 and we came home like we just like go to bed
At 5.
But I mean it was like 7:30 or like 8, but still it's so
well, especially
like
after you eat heavy pasta.
Yeah, like a fancy dinner. But what was I talking about? How I knew.
Pasta.
I just remember how there were so many times where I felt like I didn't have to fill the silence or I didn't have to be anything other than just like with him. And for me, if you know me, I am a yapper and I fill the silence a lot just because I
Nervous
don't like
talking.
Yeah, and I just will keep talking if no one stops me. So
You're like your dad that way.
Yeah. Yeah, like I have good things to say.
Well, you can talk.
And I can talk, like I will enlighten
About
you.
anything.
I will.
I will entertain you.
But with him, I just felt like we would just sit in the car and drive and I would feel content. And that doesn't happen very often. Even sometimes by myself, I can't even sit in the car in silence. I'm like filming an imaginary podcast. So on my drive today, just kidding. But yeah, I just felt really content with him to just be with him. And I think that to me spoke a lot of like, yeah, I feel comfortable with him. And I never had felt that way in another relationship to that extent. Like I feel like I didn't have a bad dating history. I never had anything that was like toxic or anything like that. But I just felt with him so much peace. And I think we've talked about how everyone was so on board with both of us, like his family and my family, and we just had so many people speaking life into our relationship that we just kind of felt like,
okay,
yeah, I feel good about this.
Yeah.
And it just was
no warnings.
there weren't any red flags.
flags.
There weren't any, and it just.
I can say that too for you guys. Like,
Yeah.
we were talking about a trip that we did with our family where we went to Sandy Point with Riley in London, and we were both talking yesterday. Like, isn't that weird? None of us were engaged or married at that point, but we look back and it just felt like we'd always been married or engaged.
That's how London and I talk about that all the time, of how like we think back at a memory that's like, oh yeah, we're married in that memory. Like, we were hardly dating in that memory, but it just feels like when
just married forever.
we've just been married forever.
Wow.
A funny thing that you could probably relate to in comparison to like how I knew Riley was the one is that after dates, my stomach wouldn't hurt. Because in the past, like
stressed.
Yeah.
I feel like I'd come home and just like want the date to be over with like other people I had dated. Like, I
just anxious.
I couldn't imagine spending like more than 4 hours with them. Like, what are you gonna do the whole time? Like, what are we gonna talk about? Anxious, like stomach's all tight. But then with Riley, I don't think I ever felt that way. Like, maybe the first time we hung out, but just so like, oh, like I just felt so like comfortable and like, I don't know what that is.
I will say I didn't feel what like the peace I'm feeling until like probably the third or fourth date. Like I felt good about it, but I was so nervous for our first couple of dates. Like, I am not.
We all were nervous for you.
Yeah, I am not an early person. I'm never on time to anything. And that is a definitive statement. I am never on time. But I remember for our first date, I was like ready to go like 30 minutes or like 45. Like, I was fully dressed, hair done, brushed my teeth, everything. And I was just waiting. And I remember Dad was like giving me so much crap about it. And I was like, stop it. I'm not nervous. I'm not nervous. He's like, you have an hour until the date and you're ready.
Ugh. You're ready.
Yeah,
that's how you know. Yeah, I think peace is a good defining feature of knowing it's the right one. It's just like you just have peace, and even going for long drives with that person is fun, you know, because just being around them. Well, I just kind of want to switch over to talking just more about marriage, since we've kind of graduated through all the levels: singleness, dating, engagement, and now to marriage. And like I said earlier, I've been married for at least 26 years, 27, maybe 28.
That's at 28. You're going to be celebrating 28.
But are you in your 29th year?
So we got married in 1996. Let's do the math.
You're in your
So 24. Yeah. 27
I
or 20.
You didn't do any math.
Okay, 2, 4,
we're
6,
married.
8, 10.
And that's why none of us are good at math.
I am good at
It's
math.
girl math.
It's adding. That's insulting. I refuse that comment. Anyway.
You can't refuse a comment.
I can.
The comment's made dead.
She can bleep it out.
It'll just be like silence for a second. Okay. I would love to know, Olivia, in your few months of marriage, what is something like, what's been the most surprising thing about marriage, or what have you learned so far about marriage?
So much. Learned so much.
Can I just say the first week that you were married was so wonderful because
Why?
no, because let me finish a sentence, because you came home, it was like within your first week, and you're just like, I'm sorry, Mom.
Because I learned that not just being married, I think most of it was moving out and having my own home.
Yeah,
That I just was like, who's going to
Do this.
who's doing these dishes? Because I sure as heck am not. No, just kidding. What have I learned? Kind of a funny thing I've learned. I think I shared this with you like the first week. It's really hard to sleep in the same bed as someone else.
Yeah.
It's hard.
When you're used to
I'm used to it, or used to it now. But like on our honeymoon, we both were just like,
You don't really sleep.
no, and like not for that reason, but just because it's like it's so hard to sleep in the same bed.
I kept waking up like,
yeah.
why is there someone in bed with me?
Yes, yeah, and
It's
like
just so weird.
it's wonderful now.
It does take
like
a little bit of getting used
I mean,
to.
I think it was a little bit longer than a week, but I just was sleeping really terribly. But I was so happy that I didn't care. But also it was like, okay.
That's one
it
thing I
catches
am
up to
nervous about.
But do you guys have a king size bed?
Yeah, we got a king size
Yeah,
bed.
we have a queen size bed because our apartment
And
is
London
tiny.
is not a small
No.
person like you.
Which it's funny because we always joke about, like, so London worked night shifts. So a lot of nights it actually would end up just being me in the
Yeah,
bed.
yeah.
But he just recently switched to day shifts, and the first night we woke up the next morning, I was like, "Did you sleep good?" He's like, "No, I slept horribly." I was like, "Me too." Like,
guys have to
we
start
were like
over.
readjusting. Yeah, there were so many nights where I would wake up and like his head would be on my pillow, and yeah.
Yeah.
And boys sleep so hot. They're always so hot. I feel like I was always a cold sleeper, but
Yeah.
I just was always like,
Yeah.
anyways. Not.
Well,
I'm not saying this
when you get
negatively.
older like me, then you will become also a hot sleeper. It's like lately I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm dying.
No, but a
dying.
serious thing that I've learned is just that it is like marriage is very similar to dating in a lot of ways, but it's just obviously the next level of it that you are constantly with each other. So there's just a little bit of a learning curve of how to be with each other all the time. And
Totally.
it can be really glamorous and just really fun because it's your best friend and you get to
Right.
spend every moment with them. Or not when like obviously we work
Right.
and do things, but
Yeah.
like you just get to experience a lot more life with them because you are married. But at the same time, it's just a different mental space that you're
Yeah.
in and trying to kind of sort all your emotions, especially as
Yeah.
a girl. Like I
Yeah.
am a very emotional person and London is not. So that was a really like
Praise God.
just I know
Right,
it is
the way that
like
he makes
it's-
opposites attract.
It is a
Yes.
good balance, but sometimes it's hard to recognize that it's a good balance
Right.
when you're like, why are you not upset about this? This is the biggest deal in the world. And he's like, it's just dinner. Like it's okay.
It's gonna be okay.
But okay. I feel like especially like our first 2 or 3 weeks of marriage, I just was like, you're coming off of such a high of like being engaged and planning a wedding and having this big party, and then it's just kind of like life hits. And we were both so excited for life to just hit because
Yeah.
that's what you want to do. That's why you're getting married, to live life together. But it's also you're coming off of an emotional high and you're kind of just like,
now what?
Yeah. And so I feel like I didn't set myself up for success in that, to where I just felt like,
Well, now we just
I
go
just-
back to our homes. and live our lives.
And it was just really weird. It was just a lot of adjusting for me to do and for me to recognize that like this is good. This is good. It's just
Yeah.
learning, and that's
Yeah.
part of just growing up is
So true.
trying to figure out those things. But I would say to you and to anyone else who's engaged and getting married soon, just like prepare yourself for that. That it can,
There's
feel-
going to be a moment of
You just-
reality hitting.
yeah, and it can feel very like what, but it's like it's normal and it's just life. And
I
feel
remember
like
when
it
we
was
came
hard.
back from our honeymoon, we were both like, okay, bye.
Yeah.
Like, nope. It's forever. Every moment together. And yeah, it wasn't that we didn't want it, but you just
Yes.
you don't know how to do it because you've
Yeah.
never done it before.
Yeah. And it's like, so should I call my mom or do you want to call your mom? Like,
Who's making dinner tonight?
Are we supposed to be
was
asking
so
someone
funny.
about this right
For
now?
the first like month of marriage, either you or London's mom were texting us like every night, like, do you guys want to come over for dinner? Because I think you guys both knew that we were like, how do we do this?
Yes, it's a lot. I mean,
It
just
is a lot.
keeping a house, grocery shopping, doing laundry,
Yeah.
planning. Planning. It just takes a lot.
Yeah.
and I think you don't recognize that when you're not the head of the house.
Yeah. I felt like I was missing out on so much that our family was doing.
Yeah, you
Like,
have
I
your own family now.
Yeah. I was
And
just
that's
like,
weird.
What are my sisters doing
You
right
weren't really
now?
doing much.
Yeah, but
That's
you
true.
just always feel like you're missing
Yeah.
something.
Maybe it'll feel better now that I'm getting married too. So then it's just Ava here.
Oh, poor
Like,
Ava.
That's
We know
just
Ava's not
Ava.
doing anything, so
terrible.
Ava's just got
She's
a
not even
full-time
here
job.
to defend
so
herself.
she will be working. And Dad and I will just be here playing with the puppies.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
and
the
the
puppies. That was the
Yeah,
other thing.
and
I
your
was like,
cat.
where are my animals?
Yeah. This morning I had Pippin here and Finnegan here, and I'm like,
No
I'm so
way.
blessed.
Really? That's what you thought?
I did. because they're just so cute.
Yeah.
I mean, they're annoying as heck, but
I'm so blessed.
I'm not getting a dog right away. A lot of people do that.
Yeah.
yeah, not right away or ever. But you can cross that bridge together later.
I'm glad you brought up the like post wedding
Yeah.
high and honeymoon high, because I've been thinking about that too, where Riley and I were just talking last night, because I'm hitting the point in the wedding planning process where I'm just like, just want it to happen. And I think at this point it's turning into more of like a negative, like my mind is going to like the things that I'm stressed about or worried about. And Riley was like, well, let's just talk about like what we're excited for. And he's like, name 5 things. And then I ended up listing 9 things, and only one of them had to do with the wedding. They were all like after the wedding.
Yeah.
And I think I just realized like, because it is a stressful day in nature.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
one, I'm going to be getting up the butt crack of dawn
But
so
you get to get
early.
your hair
But I get, yes, exactly. But then seeing like, I get to see this person, I get to see this person. It's going to be a lot of rushing around, but it's
Yeah.
like we're making a core memory all day.
Yeah.
And so I think I've just been processing through that of like, well, let's start looking ahead, because it's not that I want to skip over the present. I want to be really present, but like, how can I set myself up for success and when I come back after the wedding, so I'm not just like
2 of the things that I really love about marriage that are so basic, but they are like kind of like what you're talking about of just getting past the wedding day and into being married is like drinking coffee with Jay in the morning and going for walks, you know, in the afternoon or evening or whenever we can with the dogs with Jay.
things. Yeah.
They're like so basic.
Yeah.
They're not even actually things, but it's like when you get to do like restful, peaceful things with your spouse, like that's the joy and the fruit of marriage that many people never get to, because they either give up too soon or they don't, or they fill their life with other things because they think that's too mundane or simple.
Yeah.
You know, just like planting a garden together and like watching your garden grow, like drinking espresso together or whatever you like to drink.
Yeah.
Tea or whatever. I don't know who likes to drink tea, but
Well, I've been having to not drink coffee because
that's
it's
a
making
choice
my
that you
heart go
made.
crazy.
That's
But I hope one day I can drink coffee again.
you can just have
Matcha.
hot water.
Oh, yummy.
Why?
So
Why
yummy.
not tea? What's so bad
I
about
don't
tea
know.
that he would drink hot water?
Hot
It's
chocolate.
just-
Hot chocolate every morning.
you can have hot chocolate.
Like, it's basically the same as coffee.
No, it's not.
But maybe all that to say, just finding out 1 or 2 things that
Yeah.
you and your spouse can enjoy doing together.
We loved pickleball. We got into a bit of a pickleball phase. It was like the weather hasn't been as nice lately, but there were a couple weeks. There's a pickleball court right by our house that we went to a lot.
Yeah.
We'd have to kick the old people off the court so we could play, but we owned the court.
I'm
Yeah.
excited to have a married summer.
Yeah.
Just have a chill summer.
Yeah.
But be able to like do fun things. It's a big deal.
Yeah. You just have a built-in best friend
Yeah.
that you can do stuff with. Doesn't mean you can't have other friends, but
Really?
you know, it just means that they are your first priority. It's true.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah. I was thinking as we were just sitting down that like marriage is like for me it's been you know when in your relationship with the Lord, it's like the more that you know God, the more you're like there's so much I don't know. Right? There's like so much like I feel like I understand it for a second and then it just like vanishes. That marriage is kind of like that, you know, like your spouse. It's like the more that I know Jay, the more I'm like, okay, tell me more. That's not what I thought. But, you know, it's crazy because even after I've known him pretty much my whole life, but I never stopped learning things about him. And I think that would be surprising, you know, that you could know someone, you know, you think of people who've been married 50 years, 60 years, even 70 years. And you're like, what do you even talk about anymore?
Yeah.
Like, do you just stop? Like, what happens?
Yeah,
what would
still
that even
things to
be like?
learn.
Yeah, because you know we are learning new things even
Yeah,
about ourselves
right.
every day.
And you're changing. Like, your personality changes. I'm sure dad learns new things about you every day.
Yeah.
Well, we're not talking about him right now.
No, that's true. I feel like even not so much in like facts about a person, but just in like, oh, that's not how I thought you would respond to that. Or really, you thought that was a good process to tell me why you thought that. And not even in a negative way, just like, oh, my mind would have never gone to that solution for this problem, or that's a problem. There's just a lot of things that's
true.
You have to shift your perspective a lot in marriage to think like, I'm learning, this is fun. And it is, but it can be,
oh my gosh,
but it's true. Like it's the same in any relationship, even like with siblings or like parents. Like, it's so easy to just make everything like, this is so frustrating. This is like, everything can be a problem. And it's the same in marriage. And you just have to decide that like, we're both growing together.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, we've only been married for 3 months. We can do this. I'm just kidding. No, we will do this. Yeah. It's like, marriage is fun. It's fun, but it's just a new season of life. And I actually was just telling someone this the other day that I feel like we saw each other more when we were dating, because you live a different life and you have to make time to like see each other when you're dating. Like, you can't just like go home.
Probably a lot more quality time.
Yes. And so like, when you're married now, it's like we get home from work a lot of times at different times, and then it's like you make dinner and then have laundry to do, and like then it's like you can't and you can't just be like, oh, let's go for
let's go for a hike.
Also,
or
like,
we're exhausted.
Our parents aren't paying for everything anymore, so it's just like, okay, how do we financially have fun?
We go for walks.
We play pickleball.
Yeah. No, but it's just, your fun looks a lot different when you're married.
Yeah.
Your dates look a lot different when you're married too.
Yes.
But you can still do regular dates. Like, you can still,
and you still have to be, I think you tend to be more intentional when you're dating.
Yes.
Than when you're married, because you're like, oh, I have to schedule a date for us to be together, versus like, we live together, I'll see you tonight.
Yeah.
And then you just kind of bring yourself and you're like, great.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah. It's true. And I'm sure that like still happens. And it probably is even different when you have kids.
Oh my
then
goodness.
It's like, okay, tonight for our date, we're going to go to a soccer game.
Yeah.
And watch our kid play.
Yeah.
Or like go to a school concert
Yep.
with hundreds of other parents.
Yeah. It's just constantly changing in every season. And I mean, you guys remember when we were little, like how we'd have a lot of babysitters that would come and watch you guys, and we would go out and have dinner or whatever we were doing. And then sometimes we would have dates where it's like, okay, you guys are going to go to bed, and then we're going to, have intentional time together, where we're not just like, I'm doing laundry and he's working in the garage, but like we're hanging out and talking. And one of the things we did, we learned through like at church through a parenting class, was couch time. So like, when your kids are super little, dad would come home from work, and it would be like the first 15 minutes would be couch time for mom and dad, where we could just sit down and talk about our day. And it wasn't about the kids. It seems like really harsh, like when you think about it, but it wasn't. It was great because, first of all, you're able to connect with your spouse, and your kids are seeing the two of you connect, and they can wait their turn. It's just a few minutes. And then it's like, then you're kind of on the same page about how the evening's going to go, or you've connected. I don't know how much we actually did that, but maybe once or twice we did it.
Yeah. But those 2 times were really
But the
good.
idea of it is amazing.
No, I remember like, even as a kid, like, I remember you guys taking time to like do stuff like that. And I remember like, now it's kind of funny to think like you guys are married, then you're not just my parents, but your husband and wife.
Yeah.
So it's weird to like look back at memories as a kid and be like, oh yeah, they were still figuring it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it like, in a weird way, it's comforting, because it's like, oh yeah,
Totally.
They
They could
looked
do
like they
it,
had it all together, but they were struggling. I'm just kidding.
And I think for better or for worse, like when your kids move out, you have each other. And I think it's crazy to think about, but a lot of parents begin to like switch their focus from their spouse to their kids, to where like your kids become your priority, not your marriage. And I think you always should keep your marriage first.
Yeah.
you love your spouse first, because the most important
part of
thing
parenting.
you can do for your kids
Yeah.
is to provide them a safe and loving marriage
Mm-hmm.
where they can grow up in, because that's going to be the healthiest thing for kids in the long run. And sometimes that's hard, because you have to make choices.
Yeah.
Like you can't do 8 things at once. You can literally only do one thing
Yeah.
at once. And so making your spouse a priority, even when you have little kids. And obviously there's grace involved on both parties, because, when you're a brand new mom, whatever, there's just different demands. And so having a spouse that understands that,
Yeah.
but also making time to set your kids aside and be like, no, my spouse is important to me and I want to invest in their life and let them know that they matter. And same with your kids.
Yeah.
And obviously the more kids you have, the harder that is, because you want each child to feel special, but it's like you're only one person or 2 people.
2 people. 2 people who are one.
No, you are one person.
Where we are one. So it's really not helpful at all. Love is definitely a choice that you make, like you choose that person to marry them. And then there's many times when you're like, we are married.
Yeah.
I love you. And I choose that,
Yeah.
today. And, I was remembering reading, I don't know if you guys remember when Brad Pitt married Jennifer Aniston. I don't remember what year that was.
Don't remember.
I don't even know how long ago it was, but I remember, I don't know if I saw it like it, because I never read these kind of magazines or anything. So I probably just saw it like in a grocery line or something. But that he said, we just decided we're going to be married until we don't want to anymore.
Oh, they're not married anymore, right?
No.
Yeah.
They weren't married for that long, I don't think. That's terrible.
I know.
What's the point of being married?
I know.
Why would you say that?
But basically what they're saying is like, I'm going to be with you as long as I feel like it.
But
that
the thing
literally is
like,
not
do you
marriage.
think that they both felt that way, or
Yes.
that was like?
Well, I mean, I think they both walked into it like,
But who would
I know.
that?
Like that literally is like the opposite of the definition
Yeah.
of marriage, because
That-
marriage is choosing to be with someone forever.
Right.
Period.
Well, that was like at our cousin got married this last week, and at her wedding, her dad, our uncle, said, "You are never more married than you are today on your
Yeah,
wedding day,"
yeah.
and that's kind of like
Whoa.
you don't, like you're always like you don't have as much experience, but you're still just as married as you are going to be, 20, 30,
Yep.
40 years, and that's like, why would you decide
I don't know.
that kind of just?
I think that probably because they were in love and they figured we're always going to feel this way.
Yeah.
But I think if you base your relationship on how you feel, that's like up and down all over the place. Like you're not always going to feel like you love that person.
And that's why so many people just have such a Hollywood version of love that we talked about it. And I think our singleness, I don't remember, in one of the podcasts about like how you know that you love someone, or like what love looks like. And it's so different in like in some times you love someone a lot and like the feelings just come so naturally. But in
Totally.
different seasons, it's like, I have to
Remind myself.
make an effort to love you. Yeah, like it's just life gets busy
Yeah.
or other things happen. You are going through
Yeah.
something different, and it's
Yep.
not that you don't love the person, but the feelings
Yep.
and the expressions don't come naturally. So you have to like
Yeah.
work at it a little bit more and show the other person, I still care about you and I figured it out too.
Yeah, I heard somebody say like, what was it that brought you together, and like what drew you to that person, when you first got married, and remembered those qualities, because they do tend to get buried and lost in just the busyness of life. When you have kids, or when you have like a crazy schedule or jobs, or even the stress of like finances, or if there's like death in the family, there's just all kinds of things that can really like push against someone to where they're just not that like loving person that you fell in love with, or like that happy-go-lucky.
Right.
Like it's not gonna, I think of dad when we were in high school, and like you don't really have any cares. You have no cares in the world. You don't have car payments, you don't have a house payment, so like you're gonna be a little bit more joyful,
Right.
until then you get like, oh my gosh, I have to work forever, because we have no money and I have to feed you and all these people, and you can really fall into like oh, this is just really hard. Or you can be like, no, this is just life. And like, we can do it. It's going to look different.
This.
Yeah.
We made a vow before God and others that this is our decision.
Well, this has been a super fun conversation, just hearing about each of us and the way we've processed through our relationships and looking forward to marriage and hearing a little bit about my marriage with my amazing husband. And I was just going to share a last verse before we close up from 1 Corinthians chapter 13, which is not an unfamiliar chapter, but it's something that the Lord has brought to my mind a couple times through the course of my marriage, just as I strive and want so much to, love Jay the way that God wants me to, and how it's easy to get stuck in ruts and even patterns of loving in a way that isn't helpful or really not loving very well. And it's so simple, right? And if we can think about it in the way that the scripture talks about love, it's not that it's easy, but it's simple. And so I'll just read it here, starting verse 4. Love is patient. Love is kind and is not jealous. Love does not brag and is not arrogant. It does not act unbecomingly. It does not seek its own, is not provoked or like easily offended. So that one is definitely a reminder to me. Does not take into account a wrong suffered. Does not rejoice in unrighteousness, but rejoices with the truth. Bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails. And obviously Jesus is, and our Heavenly Father is the perfect example of what it looks like to love. And in part of my morning blessing that I wrote down and read to myself each day is that God loves me unconditionally, and He loves each of us unconditionally. And that's the way He calls us to love each other. And we can't do it in our own strength for sure. And so we lean on Him every day. We, repent when we fall short, and we acknowledge that. And I think that's really the best way to keep any marriage or any relationship really focused on the Lord and in a healthy direction. So it's just been a lot of fun. I really admired my girls, all four of them, even the two that aren't on today's podcast or this series. And thank you so much for joining us and for being a part of the journey that we have been on about relationships. And we pray blessing over you, your relationships, whether you're dating, single, or married, wherever stage of life you're in, that you can lean on the Lord and He will be your strength, and you can find truth in His word. And so don't forget to daily be a part of His word. And we look forward to next time. See you next time.